Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. This month I'm going to show you how to make a picture-in-picture effect using Paint Shop Pro Photo 11. Now I've already opened this start template file that you'll find on this month's cover CD, and what I want to do here is to cut out the fingers and the frame from this blue background. Now to do that I'm going to use one of Paint Shop Pro's simpler but most powerful tools. It's the Magic Wand tool, and you'll find it hiding away below all the other selection tools here. Now this tool works by trying to find areas of the picture that are very similar in tone to what you click on. So if I click here, it'll find all the other blue parts of the picture that are more or less similar. Now it doesn't get it absolutely spot on. You can see it's missed a few areas down here. So to add those in, all you need to do is to hold the Shift key on the keyboard. And when you hold Shift, a small plus sign appears next to your Magic Wand cursor, and if I click in an unselected area, it'll add those into the selection, and now we've got the whole of the blue area selected. Now that's quite a good selection, but if you want to get it a really great selection, we need to do just a couple of little things to it. Okay, let's come up to Selections, choose Modify, and choose Expand. Now we're going to expand this selection just a tiny bit, just by 2 pixels, and click OK. Now the reason we've expanded our selection is to remove the risk of any blue highlights or halos appearing around the fingers or the edge of the frame. So we've just slightly eaten into the edges so there won't be any blue at the edge. Now come back to Selections, choose Modify, and then choose Feather. Now feathering, even less than expanding, so just 1 pixel on the feathering. Now what that will do is to go around the edge of our selection and just soften off any rough bits, any lumps or bumps or sharp edges, and give a nice gentle edge to the selection. The final thing we need to do is to swap the selection around, because at the moment we've selected the blue area, and what we want to select is the fingers and the frame itself. So go to Selections and choose Invert, and then you can come to Edit and Cut, and you'll cut the fingers and the frames out from the picture, and they're saved in the computer's temporary memory. In fact, we can actually close down this picture. It's done its job, we don't need it anymore, and we can open up another picture onto which we want to add our effect. So this is the one I want to use. So to add in the fingers and the frame we've just cut out, we go back to Edit and choose Paste as New Layer. Okay, so it's important that we paste it as a new layer, and that adds it into the picture like so. Now you can move these around, you can get the Move tool and just drag these anywhere you like. Just make sure you don't go too high, otherwise you will end up with a gap below the fingers, and that kind of looks a bit weird. So we'll just bring it down to about there, looks good. Now the next thing I want to do is to cut out the black area inside this frame. Now just like we did when we cut out the blue area, it's a solid area of colour, so that means the Magic Wand tool should be the tool to use. So let's just click anywhere on this black area here. Now once again it does a pretty good job. Zooming in though, you can see that it's not quite perfect. It did miss a few little bits and pieces. Now to correct that, rather than trying to add in these little bits, because they are quite tiny, I'm going to go for Selections, Modify, and Select Similar, which is almost dropped off your screen. Now we're just going to select the very similar black tones, so we're going to leave the tolerance at 1 pixel, like so. And you can see that just tidies up the selection and it just gets to the edges. In fact, it goes slightly further than the edges, and what I want this time round is to bring the selection inwards slightly. And we do that by going to Selections, Modify, and Contract. Now I'm going to contract it by, let's go for 5 pixels, and click OK. And that'll just bring the selection just on the inside of the black area. And we're going to go back to Selections again, choose Modify, and choose Feather. And this time I'm going to feather it by 5 pixels as well. And then we're just going to cut that whole area out using Edit and Cut. And Selections, select None. Now, Normally we'd try and avoid getting any halos around the edge of your selections. I mean, we worked really hard to make sure there was no blue halos, but here I actually wanted to add one in, because adding in a little bit of a black edge with a soft fuzziness that we put in with the feathering gives the feeling of depth of 3 dimensions, and it makes this appear thicker than it really is. Well, we're nearly there. We've got one more thing to do, and that's to make one last selection just around the white part of our frame here. Now to do that, I'm going to change selection tools. I'm going to use the freehand selection tool. Now if you're really good at freehand selection, you can draw a freehand selection all the way around here. I don't have a steady hand to do that, so I'm going to change the selection type from freehand to point to point. Now this is great because all you need to do is click on one point and it makes a sort of an anchored selection, and then you just come down to the next point, click again, and it anchors it in, and you can click around all the points like so and make what could be quite a difficult job reasonably easy. So there we have our selection running around the white part of the frame. Come back to selections and choose invert. So now we have the outside area selected. Now the purpose of that is that anything we change now will only affect the outside area of our picture and not the inside. So the effect we're looking for here is that the inside of our picture stays the same no matter what we do to the outside, and we're going to make the two look slightly different. But if I change things now, I'll be doing it wrong, because I'm going to end up changing the fingers. I want to change the flowers. Why is that happening? Well, let's have a look at the layers. F8 on the keyboard to bring up the layers palette, and you'll see that you've got 2 layers, one with the finger and frame and one with the background image. Click on the background image because it's that from now on that we want to work on. Okay, so what we're going to do, well, we've got so many choices at this point. This technique is really adaptable. So let's start with, for example, adjust, blur, and Gaussian blur. And we'll put in sort of 25 in the radius. And that should give a nice, soft and fuzzy background. So we have the illusion of depth of field. So it looks like you're holding an image that's nice and sharp. And then in the background, you've got the same image that's blurred out of focus. Okay, that's one thing you could do, but there are plenty of others. For example, adjust, hue and saturation, hue, saturation and lightness, and we can get the hue and we can drop it all the way down so we end up with a black and white image. So you now have a color image in your hand and a black and white image in the background. Of course, you can do anything you can think of really, and if you go to the effects give you quite a bit of other choice as well. I'm going to go with art media and black pencil, and we're going to give this a bit of a filtered effect. I'm just going to drop the opacity of this one down to about 75%, somewhere in that area. Click OK, and that should make quite a nice sort of filtered effect in the background, and again a realistic image in your fingers. So there we go, there's a few different things you can do with this template. Have a play with it, come up with some great images, and don't forget to post the best ones in the gallery on our website at www.photoanswers.co.uk.